If we are not defining, stating very definite and clear what we must witness as leaders of our organization, we're creating ambiguity effect. We're creating this world where people, they're not standing on solid ground from their perspective. And this is really up to you to define these things. Welcome to another episode of the Physician Growth Accelerator, a show where we break down your private medical practice systems into vitals, give you the tools to diagnose root cause of what may be restricting your growth, and prescribe what to do about it. I'm your host, Zed Williamson, and I believe that everything that we experience, everything, is the perfect outcome of our current system. And if we want something different as a result, then we have to take ownership and tweak the system. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast, I greatly appreciate it. I'm hoping you're taking some nuggets, applying them to your business, seeing the outcomes of thinking this way about the business of your private medical practice. And if you've gotten any value out of this podcast, I'm asking a favor of you. Go to whatever platform you listen to this podcast on and give us a review. It helps the algorithms of the system share it to more people so we can get the word out. I believe in the power and importance of private medical practices and private medical practices building a moat around their business so that they are always in control. So the more people we get this information, I feel that would be better for the world. So please review us. I appreciate it. And I'll be watching those numbers to make sure you're clicking them. So there's a framework that we use internally for ourselves and then also with our clients. And it is the DCM framework. It is define, communicate, measure. And it's a really simplistic approach to structure within the organization. And I want to talk about defining and the importance of that. So if you look up definition, to get the definition of definition, it'll be defined as making definite or clear. And that's the important way to think about things in your business. What is definite and what is clear? The reason is you have a team, and this team, they honestly are rooting for you, they're rooting for yourselves, they're rooting for the organization. There's a lot of things going on in their brain from a heuristics and bias standpoint that sometimes creates a behavior that doesn't necessarily suggest that that is true. You'll see defensiveness, drama in the office. So much of this is tied to a lack of definition, a lack of clarity. You know, if you think about our brain's job is to keep us alive today. It doesn't really know about tomorrow. And there is a heuristic referred to as ambiguity effect, which is this idea that if something isn't clear to me, my brain is going to assume worst case scenario. And in business, it is really easy to get busy and feel like you're just putting out fires all the time, and everything becomes very ambiguous. We use words like faster, more, better, general terms for people's roles, like, hey, well, you're the front desk person. And you might have this clear understanding of what that means in your mind, but it might not be shared specifically. So the first part of the DCM framework is define. And this is everything in your business, roles and responsibilities. So if someone is an MA, what specifically are they accountable for? What is the behavior that must be witnessed as an MA from start to finish? Is it clear and is it defined? Must be definite and clear. From a behavior standpoint, we must define behaviors across the entire organization. Here are the standards that must exist within our organization for you to be a part of it. You must define why you do things. What is the ultimate goal of this organization? How is the world better because of your existence? That can be defined and it can be made very clear. It's helpful to define things for your patients. You will see that ambiguity effect really impacts patient behavior. And you see a patient, they have an issue, everything from a logic standpoint it makes total sense for them to take care of this issue, and they don't. You lose them. Are you a private practice leader dealing with team drama, growth headaches, or just trying to keep your head above water? Introducing the Physician Growth Accelerator membership. a free resource for our podcast listeners like you to get real solutions. Inside, you'll find exclusive materials, free courses, bonus podcast content, and live events, all designed to help your practice grow. It's free for now, so don't wait. Visit physiciangrowthaccelerator.com and click members to join today. You know, we track a lot of metrics for our clients, and you see a loss of treatment percentage that's pretty significant, loss of diagnostic percentage, cancellation appointments, no-shows. All of that, I won't say all of that, that is overgeneralizing. I would say at least 80% of that is related specifically to ambiguity effect. They are unaware, it's not clear, and they're going to assume worst case scenario. Some of the signs that you would witness that are some of the questions that patients ask, and you hear them asking around something, and they're trying to get clarity. And if you don't give it to them, their brain is going to go, you know what, I'm good. I just need to worry about today, and so I'm going to avoid this thing. And then also, what about your expectations? How many silent, unmet expectations have you had in the last week with your business? These pop up as thoughts where you're saying, I can't believe we did it. Why should we do this? Isn't it obvious we should do this? And all these internal thoughts around what people should be doing in the practice related to their roles. If we are not stating very definite and clear what we must witness as leaders of our organization, we're creating ambiguity effect. We're creating this world where people, they're not standing on solid ground from their perspective. And this is really up to you to define these things. So when we think about these definitions, imagine if you tell your team, like, all right, guys, you know what? We got to get busier. We got to see these patients. We got to see more patients, and we got to do it faster. You have a definition of that in your mind. Share it with the team, because their definition likely doesn't match. And in their brain, they could be saying, what are you talking about? We are busy. And then you can create this culture around these words that are broad. And you don't want a culture of a busy practice, meaning we can never do any more unless you hire. It's impossible for us to do more because we're busy, right? So let's not even use those words. We need to define what our capacity must look like on a day-to-day basis. And then you can frame how people view those things. So let's say you see the team start to get a little stressed out when you're at 85% capacity, then that's what we celebrate. Guys, if you get stressed out, man, that is really good. That means we're helping the most patients, we're driving the most value through the business, and we're creating a moat around this practice so that we can treat patients forever. So you guys let me know if you're not stressed out, because that means we're not busy enough. We need to get that capacity up. That kind of framing, you actually help the person understand that this feeling of discomfort is actually okay. Generally, as humans, we pay a little bit too much attention to wanting to be comfortable. Comfort, lack of stress is actually not that healthy. We don't want chronic stress, but the idea of just sitting in a lump and trying to be comfortable all the time is not really how we thrive as humans. And so you can help your team frame what these words mean. And this framework, DCM, the definition, the reason why it's in that order is you can't really do anything if things are not defined. And so ask yourself maybe about last week. Do you have an opinion about how last week went with your practice? And could you define what the difference must be for you to think better about the outcome of the work next week? And can you state those things clearly to team members where they absolutely understand? There is no question. It is definite and it is clear. And then also maybe just think about last week, or maybe some silent unmet expectations. How many things are not definite? How many things are not clear to your team? How often are these big general words used, like faster, more, busy, better? Come on, guys, we got to do better. What does that mean? So I hope this is helpful for you. If you ever have questions about any of the tools we talk about on the podcast, always feel free to reach out and go to physiciangrowthaccelerator.com. There you will find a ton of resources for you to utilize in your practice on a day-to-day basis. And you can also fill out the diagnostic and get a sense of where you're finding constraint in your practice today. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Physician Growth Accelerator.